Hello everyone and welcome back to another game of Marvel Crisis Protocol. Today for you we have a 19 threat match of the Brotherhood of Mutants versus the Avengers on the table layout that you can see before you. So let's get things started by taking a look at the teams, and then they'll start going at it and beating each other up for the Crisis cards being played. So a very formidable 5 miniatures in the Brotherhood of Mutants team, being led by Magneto, and it's his affiliation bonus. So anytime scenery is destroyed, he'll be dishing out extra power. Although the other option for leadership is here. Mystique is coming along, so is Toad, and then Magneto's children, Wanda and Pietro. So family affair with a little bit of tacked on extra help. Their tactics cards are Magnetic Crush, the Whims of Chaos, Magnetic Refraction, Can I Borrow That, aka Yoink, and Difficult to Please. And here is the Avengers team taking on the Brotherhood, being led by Steve Rogers, Captain America, for the first time in a while, and we are going to use his changed stat card now. But the only difference is for him is he gets up to size 3 on his pushes connected to his attacks, and I think he gets 1 extra die on his shield throw because he throws it with a bit more oomph than Sam does. And that's about it. As far as I'm aware, no one else here has changed, assuming they've released all the cards, that is, which it seems like they have, but maybe they haven't, who knows. Either way, Thor is also here. Daredevil is here, who apparently is fine and doesn't need changing, which is wrong, but whatever. And then we have Little Iron Man, but of course he is taking the big old Hulkbuster. Get used to seeing a lot of this on the channel. So the Hulkbuster is here again, but it is Steve's leadership this time, so we'll see how it works. It worked well with Sam's leadership, but we'll see how superpowers costing 1 less does for them. And their tactics cards: Avengers Assemble, Second Wind, Brace for Impact, Extreme Conditioning, and Medpack. And here is the 2 Crisis cards being played today. The Extraction is the Montesi formula found, so that's the 3 books where the Gamma Shelters would be. 1 victory point for each one you're holding. You can't hold more than 1, and it gives you access to a Beam 3 6 dice energy attack. The threat value being played is the Secure, 19 threat there. Intrusions open across the city as seals collapse. It's the new Dormammu Portal one, which is just, it's a really good mission, honestly. I think it's really fun. So that's the 3 dark portals, kind of like in a crosshair shape on the map compared to the books. 1 victory point for each one you're controlling. You can spend power to teleport through them, but you drop anything you're holding, and you suffer 1 damage. So the 3 books, 1, 2, 3. There's also a portal in the middle, and then a portal on either flank as well. So we'll come back at deployment, see who's set up on which side of the table. So here we are at deployment. The Brotherhood of Mutants are on your left and will be taking first activation. The Avengers are on your right. The Brotherhood have +1 more miniatures and are taking first activation, so the Avengers are very likely to maintain to gain priority rather going forward. The Hulkbuster is down here, Steve is there next to Thor, and then Daredevil up there on the end. And then over here we have Mystique and Toad down here by themselves. We have Magneto with his 2 children there, and Magneto has created his first metal construct right there, which generates some extra power in the power phase as well. Hulkbuster gets an extra power. Thor does for being an Avenger. Magneto did for that metal construct. I think that covers everything. So with that, we are ready to jump into Battle Round 1. So Scarlet Witch Wanda got the game started. She ignored the book closest to the start and instead used 2 medium moves to get on top of the building. Here she can fly, so she wasn't hindered. Not that she needed the 2 full movements anyway. So she is securing the central portal and did pay 1 power to pick up the book that was there, because the 1 book in the middle is the swing for the turn, assuming both sides grab the one right smack dab in front of their deployment zones. So Captain America was next up. However, Avengers Assemble was just played upon turning to an Avengers turn. Any Avenger can pay 1 power, those that do move small. The Hulkbuster and Thor both paid 1 power, so they have moved small out of deployment zone. Thor's right next to the book over there. And then for Steve's actual turn, he moved medium, and then from where he was just within range 4 of Wanda. He doesn't require line of sight. He denies cover on shield throw. I was forgetting 1 extra thing. It is 1 extra dice for his version of shield throw now, because it's to separate it from Sam's a little bit by showing that he's a little bit stronger. But he also gets the thing that Sam's version has, which is it gives you 1 power, because before it gave you nothing. So he boinged the shield, it hit Wanda in the head, bounced back down, I guess. It hit her for 2, well, it hit her for 3 damage, but she blocked 1. So yeah, 2 damage to Wanda, pretty good start for him there. Quicksilver was next up, and he simply moved. He moves long, so he didn't really need his 2 full movements, but he went over here to claim this Dark Dimension portal for the Brotherhood. Thor was next up for the Avengers. He paid his other power to pick up the book he'd been placed next to thanks to Avengers Assemble, and he flies, so he's not hindered at all. He flew up medium onto the building, and he was within 2 of Wanda that he could initiate his basic 6 dice physical strike with a throw on a wild, which he did get, which is why Wanda is gone. He chucked her away small. It has to be away as well, so you couldn't like throw her down here for the Hulkbuster to eat her or anything like that. So he just threw her away. The actual strike did 2 damage through to her, so that's 4 in total. She spent 2 on... oh, don't remember the name of the ability, but she puts a judgment on the person that hurt her, so Thor will not gain power now for taking damage. Mystique activated next for the Brotherhood, and her long movement more than gave her enough to secure herself in the courtyard here next to this portal, and she is obscured by the fence here, but the Hulkbuster can see over it. But he has to choose between either like moving into the portal and attacking or trying to take her out, I guess. Assuming he wants to go that way, that is. Matt Murdock activated next for the Avengers, just leaving them with the Hulkbuster still to go. He also moves long. Lots of long moves in this match, which is unheard of, to have more than like even just a couple. So he moved and easily covered the same distance as Quicksilver there to get over to that flaming portal. They are contesting it, so no one is currently holding that, and I'm not sure that Magneto can make it over there with his slow movement. And second last activation for the Brotherhood was Toad, and he followed his good friend Mystique and has also claimed that portal. So they are currently claiming that portal. The Hulkbuster can't fit there because he'd be too lopsided standing on that, plus it'd probably break, which means he could... I'm not sure if he was right up against that fence, he might be within 1. I don't think he will be, actually. I think the environment's going to kind of ruin his chances of being able to even contest that, because he could move in and push one of them away just to make it contestable. I'm not sure that's possible now, but I guess we'll see, because it's over to his turn to end the Avengers first round. So the Hulkbuster activated, moved up the street medium, turned his gaze over here and fired his heavy repulsor blast into Mystique, threw her backwards into the building there for 2 damage. So he generated himself 2 power. Even if he'd done no damage, it generates 1. She's no longer contesting that, but neither is he. So Toad is the only one holding that there. So now it's over to Magneto to end off battle round 1. So Magneto moved small to the far side of the remaining book that was on the table. He paid 1 power to pick it up, and he was not quite within range 3 of the Hulkbuster to launch an assault on him with reverse polarity. So instead he just moved small again, and he does fly, not that it matters, but he did fly small up onto the building, well within 1, so he's contesting that now, so no one's claiming that middle portal. And with that we can go over the scoring for battle round 1. So here is the board state. At the end of battle round 1, the Brotherhood of Mutants have 2 books. One is held by Scarlet Witch, one is held by Magneto, and they hold the portal here for a total of 3 victory points. The Avengers hold the other remaining book. Thor's got it for 1, and that's it. They scored just 1 victory point, so it's 3-1 to the Brotherhood as we go into battle round 2. The Avengers are taking first activation, however, and the Avengers are the only one who dealt damage there. Scarlet Witch got hurt a lot more than expected, but they're still a man down in numbers, and now they're behind in points. So we'll see what happens. Let's go into battle round 2. So it was the Hulkbuster that got battle round 2 started, however, just to show this is where Magneto popped up his second construct, which was also generating him extra power. So the Hulkbuster decided it was the perfect opportunity to make sure Wanda can't do anything this turn. He moved medium over here and then did a heavy repulsor blast to her. A bit hard to get an angle, and we'll come around this side. It did 4 to her. She only had 2 health left, so she is dazed, and he paid 1 power to pick up the book that she dropped. He did consider paying to pick up the car and chuck it at Magneto or something like that, but it would just feed power to him and or others, so opted not to do that. But he is now holding a book. So Magneto was first up for the Brotherhood, and he wanted a little bit of payback against the Avengers, ironically. So in a repeat of something that's happened on this table before, I believe, he used 2 reverse polarities on Thor within range 2, so he had full rerolls, 6 physical dice against 4 physical defense. Thor getting no power for any damage because he's judged. And the first one did 3 damage to him, the second one did 6. He has 6 health on his healthy side, so Thor is dazed. Now Magneto already holds a book, and totally forgot to put Thor's on the table somewhere, so it'll be placed on top of here in a second, but he couldn't pick it up anyway, so it's just going to be sitting there. And not to be outdone, for destruction purposes, Magneto then spent 2 to pick up the car here and chuck it into the back of the Hulkbuster. Hulkbuster took 1 damage as a result of that as well. Do not mess with Magneto or his children. So just for clarity's sake, the book that Thor dropped has to be placed within 2, and it has been placed on the floor on the side of the building there. So I guess when he was getting smacked around by metal bits, it fell out his pocket and landed there. So Captain America activated and had to use 2 medium moves to come around the corner and snatch up that book that Thor was holding. I guess he's aiming for that portal over there. So with Scarlet Witch dazed, it's over to Toad, Mystique or Quicksilver now. So Quicksilver tried a little bit of a risky play that did not pan out. He moved away from the portal such that he was just within range 3 of Cap, and then initiated just his basic free 4 dice physical. He can do extra attacks if he gets certain rolls. The plan was to then spend 2 on Can I Borrow That to steal the objective from Steve, but he has to do damage. Knowing that that was the thing, Steve spent 2, reduced down to 1 because of the affiliation bonus on Vibranium Shield. So he had 6 dice coming in, or defending against what was coming in. As it turns out, it wasn't really needed. Only 1 success in the attack roll from Quicksilver, which was easily blocked. So now he's over there, and just Daredevil is holding that portal. I get the feeling it's not going to be a very bombastic end to the second battle round. Toad activated and unactivated. He just wants to hold that portal. So it's over to Daredevil to end off battle round 2 for the Avengers. So Daredevil moved to the far side of the portal so that he was within range to chuck a baton hook at Quicksilver. 4 dice physical, and unfortunately no damage there. Easily blocked the 1 hit success that was coming in against him. So it's over to Mystique to end off the turn. So Mystique did actually find something very underhanded to do. However, I forgot to mention on camera, but when Magneto destroyed the car, he did give out power, of course, because of his affiliation bonus that was given to Quicksilver and Toad. Anyway, Mystique moved up to the portal, and then she paid 1 to try and use the portal, which means she takes 1 damage. And she rolled a skull, which means that the Avengers get to place her. So she was placed up there, took 1 damage. Now that's another portal, so she could pay 1 power again, pardon me, and try again. So she did, and it popped out over here, meaning that now that point is contested, but in total she took 2 more damage. So she actually only has 1 health left, which probably means it wasn't worth the value for disrupting the point scoring. Also just realised though, she still has an action, because she moved next to the portal and didn't do anything else. Well, at first we thought, oh, there's actually no point in her attacking Daredevil because it'd end up with her dying. If he counters with Man Without Fear, it gives him a free strike against her. But because of her camouflage mutation abilities, you can't use reactive superpowers against her, so he actually can't attack her back. So she unloaded her rapid fire pistol, 2 sets of 4 physical dice into Daredevil. The first one did 1 damage, the second one spiked and did 3. He is alive on 1 HP. So that almost turned into the Brotherhood holding that. She does have an ability where she can blow up scenery to hurt those around her, but it's an action. So she can't do that as well as what she did. So they're both 1 hit away from death now as we go into the scoring for Battle Round 2. So here's things as they stand at the end of Battle Round 2. The Brotherhood only have 1 book because of Quicksilver failing that Gambit to use a tactics card for 1 victory point. However, they hold the central portal because Thor is dazed and is flipping his card, and Toad holds this one. So they still gained 2 for those as well, taking them to 6 victory points. The Avengers hold 2 of the books for 2 victory points, and that is it, because Mystique and Daredevil are contesting the far portal, and as previously stated, Thor is dazed, so that takes them to 3. So as we go into Battle Round 3, 6 plays 3 in the Brotherhood's favour, but the Avengers have retained priority for first activation. So we'll see what happens. So it was the Hulkbuster to get Battle Round 3 started, and we have a lot to cover. First of all, Tony spent on both a hit and run and meteor punch, which would normally be 5 power, but the hit and run is reduced by 1 because of Steve's affiliation bonus, so he was spending 4, so that's an attack followed by a move. And he did the meteor punch, which includes on a wild a throw away from him. He did it on Wanda. Wanda only took 1 damage from the initial meteor punch, which was not great, but she was thrown away, so she got thrown into Quicksilver. She took 1 more additional damage from that. Quicksilver did not do well with his dodge and took 2 damage. She then also cast Judgment upon the Hulkbuster, so he won't generate power from being attacked now. But the move allowed him to follow her, so that she was still within range that he could pay 3 again to do a second meteor punch, and did that on Wanda, and it spiked for 5 damage. So Wanda didn't get to do anything this game. She just got picked on, and now she's gone. So Wanda is off the table. The Hulkbuster remains judged, but boy did he hurt them. And Quicksilver is on 3 of, well, he's got 3 damage of 5 health, so he's got 2 health left. Oh, sorry, I forgot. The 2 damage was from Quicksilver failing to dodge correctly when Wanda was throwing it into him. The other 1 damage he actually took 3 of his 5, is from the explosive force of the meteor punch on a wild. Enemies within 2 take 1 damage, so that's where that came from. So Mystique activated and spent 3 on Subterfuge, I think it's called, or Infiltrate, something like that. Her big 6 dice physical attack, and she only needed to do 1 damage to Daredevil. It was a little overkill. She did 5 damage to him, it spiked really bad. He couldn't counter it anyway because of her rule regarding her camouflaging abilities, or shape-shifting rather, so Daredevil is dazed. Now that left her with an action, however, she can't move into position, and she's got range 3 on her pistols to shoot at Captain America. She's only got 1 health left, so she can't take the portal to run away. She's not holding an objective anyway. Well, she's claiming the portal, but she's not holding a book or anything like that. So she's just ending her turn there. So speaking of overkill, Captain America activated, moved medium to claim the portal there, and then spent 3 on Shield Slam, his 6 dice physical, with a push on damage, although it doesn't matter. And battered Mystique's face into the ground for 4 damage. She also only had 1 HP, that was very mean of Steve, but she is now dazed. So Quicksilver activated and started by spending 2 on Speedster. As long as he's not holding an objective token, he gets a free long move. Well, not free because it costs him 2 power, but it doesn't cost an action. So he used that to contest the portal and get right up into Steve's face, and then attacked him for 2 more to do Cyclonic Vortex, his big attack. And Steve had no power left to Vibranium Shield at that point. He certainly has power now though, because it did 4 damage to him. It only needed to do 1 for what Quicksilver wanted, which was to then pay his last 2 power on a very reflective "Can I borrow that?" As long as he deals damage he can pay 2, and then he steals an asset that the character is holding. So he stole the book that Steve was holding. He then tried to finish Steve off, because Steve's got 1 health left on his healthy side, by just doing his basic attack, and whiffed, and Steve blocked what little damage was coming in, and he paid 1, well, 2 reduced to 1 to Vibranium Shield, but as it turns out, once again, he didn't need to. So Thor was last up for the Avengers this turn, and you can see where he ended up. But first of all, he chucked his hammer at Magneto, who did pay 2 for magnetic reflection, so he can use his 6 Mystic Defense. It did no damage, but it still inflicted shock, and then reduced down to 2 by Cap's affiliation bonus. He paid for strongest one there is to pick Magneto up and chuck him medium. Just threw him into the open down there, and then for his other actual action, because the throw is not an action, he moved to the far side of the portal there, such that Magneto can't dangle off the edge, because you're not allowed to dangle off edges in this game technically, so he would have to use 2 small moves to claim that portal. And he would claim the portal because he's healthy and Thor isn't, but he'd have to do that instead of attacking. So we'll see what he decides. Well, Magneto decided he isn't scared of the God of Thunder, so he did double medium move in order to claim that portal again. And Toad, he's just going to sit there being a 2-threat character earning a victory point a turn. He's going to just sit there, activate, unactivate. So that takes us to clean up for Battle Round 3. So here's as things stand at the end of Battle Round 4. The Avengers only hold 1 book on the Hulkbuster because the book that Cap was holding got yoinked for 1 victory point, and that's all they gained. The portal at the top end of the table is a draw between Cap and Quicksilver. They're both still healthy, barely, in Cap's case, so that's a draw over there. The Brotherhood, they have 2 of the books because of the yoink from Quicksilver, and the one Magneto's held on to comfortably for 2 victory points. They hold this portal for another victory point, and they hold this portal for another victory point. So they've gained 4, meaning that as we go into Battle Round 4, the Brotherhood is leading 10-4. The Avengers maintain priority, but it's looking a bit grim at this point. Even though the Brotherhood is also a man down now, of course, because Wanda's gone. So Battle Round 4 got started with the man with no fear, Daredevil, activating. And as much as I make fun of him being a 4th-rate character, when he spikes hard. He did a Devil's Deliverance, which is his Area 2, yeah, Devil's Deliverance. It's Area 2, it only is 2 physical for 5 power, but you add 2 physical dice for every enemy within 2, so obviously Mystique and Quicksilver were there, so he was rolling 6 dice against each of them. Spiked as hard as you possibly can against Mystique, and it did 6 damage. She only has 5 health on her flip side, so he just one-shot Mystique. Now he only did 1 damage to Quicksilver, respectively, so he didn't take a lot from that. But then he did a basic strike to try and finish him off. 5 dice basic strike. Did 1 damage. Took him out, dazed Quicksilver, paid 1 power to pick up the book that Quicksilver had stolen from Cap, and then paid 2 to heal Cap for 3 with Medpack. That was one heck of a turn for Daredevil. So Magneto activated as things maybe fall apart for the Brotherhood in terms of numbers left on the table anyway. He used Magnetic Crush, as I get a text message and we'll need to check in a second. You pay 5, it starts as a base 6 physical attack, however it's down to 5 because he's shocked, but then you destroy scenery within 3 of the target, size 2 or less, and add dice equal to their size. The size 2 big pile of barrels here got destroyed, and 2 boxes size 1 got destroyed down here. This was slightly out of range. So in total that was 4 dice coming in, or call it 3 again because he's losing 1 from that. And as with big attacks, as it often happens, it did 1 damage to Thor, and then Magneto did his basic strike, 6 down to 5, full rerolls to be fair, but that did much more than the gigantic attack and did 4 to him. So Thor is on 5 damage to his 8 health on his flipped side, and Magneto ended his turn right there. So the Hulkbuster activated and flew up. Well, he can't fly, so it was reduced movement, but he climbed up or jumped up on top of the building here, saying, "Hey, surprise, Magneto," and then spent 3 on a Meteor Punch, which doesn't generate the target any power, but all said and done. Magneto did spend for Force Projection. I think I called it Magnetic Reflection earlier. Force Projection, so he gets 6 defense dice. It only did 1 damage, so not super great, but enough that at least the Hulkbuster is up there now. And he's also healthy, so Thor just needs to chuck Magneto away and the Avengers will actually claim that portal. So we're all ready to the last activation for the Brotherhood in Battle Round 4, and it's Toad. And his options are limited thanks to Mystique dying, Quicksilver being dazed. It does mean that the Brotherhood is going to be taking first activation in Battle Round 5, but his choices are try and use a portal, take damage, go. Captain America hasn't activated yet, could get smacked by him. Thor hasn't activated yet, so if he goes into the center one to try and hold it, he could get dazed. Magneto could get chucked away because Thor's sitting on a bit of power. So his only option really, the Brotherhood have the lead, so his best option seems to be to just stay there. So that's what he's going to do. So of the 2 Avengers still to go at the end of the turn here, Thor activated first, just did 2 basic strikes on Magneto, got a wild on one of them for that optional throw, or maybe it's not optional, but either way. He chucked Magneto down here, but no damage from either of them. Magneto buffed his defense on the first one only, not the second. But either way, both did nothing to him damage-wise, just chucked him away. But that in itself is important, because that means the Hulkbuster is holding that portal. So, Thor did something, but Magnet Man is a worthy opponent. During his turn, he also activated Second Wind. He and Cap both spent 1 to heal 1. So Cap activated and took advantage of the fact that Quicksilver stole his book earlier, which Daredevil is now holding, to travel through the Dark Dimension. He paid 1 power, took 1 damage, and he rolled a success, or not a skull. So he popped out here, spent 2 on a shield slam into Toad's back of the head for 3 damage, and then did a basic strike after that for 4 damage. So Toad has 5 health on his healthy side. He just got dazed by an Avenger coming out of Dark Dimension portal. He didn't have a book or anything like that, and Steve got 2 power from the actual strike that took him down, but he's healthy and is holding that portal. This might be one of the most amazing turnarounds ever. Let's go to cleanup. So at the end of Battle Round 4, there is a chance that the Avengers might actually turn this around, as I just said, because they gained most of the points this turn. The only points the Brotherhood gained was for the book Magneto was holding, for a paltry 1 point, taking them to 11, but they are taking first activation in Battle Round 5. The 3 of them that are left, and the Avengers hold all 3 of the portals. Cap holds this one unopposed, healthy character anyway. Hulkbuster and Thor, but Hulkbuster is healthy, unopposed. Daredevil's the only conscious alive one over there holding that one, so they got 3 for that, and they're holding the other 2 books, so they gained 5, taking them to 9. So they closed the gap. They're 2 behind the Brotherhood. Battle Round 5 is going to be really decisive, I think, so let's jump in and see what happens. So it was Toad who got Battle Round 5 started, and he wanted to get away from the good captain, so he paid 1 power and travelled through the Dark Dimension, but he rolled a skull, so he popped out there instead in the middle. So he paid again 1 power, 1 damage, and then popped out where he wanted to, which was to pop out behind Daredevil over here. He then spat acid at him twice. The first one, incinerate, plus 1 damage. The second one, 1 damage, keep in mind, and he was rolling only 2 defense dice in that second one. Keep in mind, against physical and energy, Daredevil counts blanks, though, because of his radar sense. So he's got 4 health left, I think. Toad only has 1 health left, but he tried to soften Daredevil up to get him to drop that book, get away from that portal, let Quicksilver take over. So Daredevil activated and wanted to retaliate. He did 2 basic strikes on Toad because the first one actually did no damage, it whiffed. The second one, however, did 4. Toad had 1 health left. Toad is a goner. He is gone. He then paid 1 to use the Dark Dimensional Portal, so he paid and took 1 damage as well. Rolled a crit and popped out here next to Cap. He's still incinerated as well. So it was a very disappointing activation for Magneto this turn, because he can't just go back up there onto the Dark Dimensional Portal, because it's a draw between him and the Hulkbuster being healthy. He's not going to be able to kill the Hulkbuster, and even if he did, Small Iron Man is also counting as healthy, and Thor is sitting on enough power to chuck him away again. And even if he didn't, the Hulkbuster pushes him away whether he does damage or not, so it's a fruitless effort to try and get up there. So he double small moved towards that, so that if there is a turn 6, he can help hold the portal over there instead of Quicksilver doing it. But yeah, he just small moved twice, there was nothing else he could do. So the Hulkbuster activated. Magneto, where he ended up, was within range 3 for his heavy repulsor blast. He fired it once into him, did no damage. He still gets 1 power for it though, and pushes regardless. So Magneto got pushed against the wall there. No damage from pushes though. And with lack of anything better to do, because he wants to hold that portal, the Hulkbuster cleared the Judgment condition as his other action. So again, for anything better to do, Quicksilver just repositioned himself to the far side of that portal he's holding, so that Thor can't easily chuck a hammer at him or anything like that, because with him being on his injured side, he can't claim that portal, and he can't claim that portal, so there's nothing else he can do. So just Cap and Thor left to go. Thor activated, moved medium, he can fly again, and just chucked his hammer for 1 power at Quicksilver. Didn't do any damage, but still did shock. So Cap once again paid 1 power to go through the Dark Dimension, and he was allowed to pop up where he wanted, which was to go after Quicksilver. He then spent the last of his power, which was 2, on a shield slam. He shield slammed and knocked Quicksilver back for 3 damage, then chucked a shield at him, and that did 2, which is exactly enough in total that Quicksilver is down. He is gone, leaving only Magneto on the field for the Brotherhood of Mutants, and taking us to the scoring as well. So at the end of Battle Round 5, the only point the Brotherhoods are scoring is still for the book that Magneto is holding, taking them to 12 of the 16 required to win. The Avengers hold all 3 portals. Daredevil's got that one uncontested, Hulkbuster's got that one, and Steve has that one over there for 3, and they have the other 2 books, so they gained 5, taking them to the 14 of the 16 required to win. We are going to end the game there because it's just Magneto left, and even if he did somehow manage to get 4 victory points in 1 turn, which is, I believe, impossible because he can only hold 1 book and 1 portal, so the most he can gain is 2, he won't stop the Avengers because he can't be everywhere at once. So we are going to call it there with an Avengers win. Magneto managing to hold his own against some pretty tough units, and once again just schooling Thor in a single activation just proves how massively effective he is. But the Hulkbuster hunting down Scarlet Witch, it seemed like it was a waste of his turns eventually once you dropped the book, but removing such a powerful piece off the table definitely paid dividends in the long run. That was the most cinematic battle I think we've had on the channel, in terms of, it seemed like the Avengers, yes, they were kind of winning the fight, but they were losing the objective. The Brotherhood pulled ahead massively for the first 2 turns, and then the Avengers pulled it out, and at the last second, late turn 4 into turn 5, they just pulled ahead and saved the day. It was very, very cinematic, and it just happened that way, and it's great when battles just kind of play out like this. I sincerely hope you enjoyed watching. Thank you very much for doing so. There will be more coming in the future, and fingers crossed those new mutant releases actually end up coming out this year and not being delayed till next year, because the cards for them look really good. I really like the look of the Juggernaut in particular, and he'd have a place in a Brotherhood list for sure, like him and Magneto. If you want it to be really spicy, him, Magneto, and Scarlet Witch in like a 19-20 threat match, that'd be something nasty. Anyway, thank you for watching. See you next time. Ta for now.